2.
Hi there, I'm Frank Craven.com. You're watching What's Ailing, Healing America. Question we have a right and duty to ask and answer. That's the Demos Kratos, the people power. And we have to make sure that we share and not be afraid to tell the truth. The reality is we have eco-friendly energy for fossil fuel industry. Solutions to pollutions. We have free energy. Oh yeah. And we have a lot of very interesting stuff evolving technologically. Now tonight's guest is a very interesting fellow in from California. And he knows a lot about the Wi-Fi and stuff that's going on. And thank you for being here. What's your name now?
Kevin Mottus with the California Brain Tumor Association.
The California
Brain Tumor Association.
So people have brain tumors?
People getting brain tumors from their cell phones. We know that wireless radiation can cause cancer, can cause neurological effects, can cause immune system problems, can cause fertility problems. But that's just the beginning. People are getting sick from regular Wi-Fi. They're getting neurological effects. People are getting sick from cell towers near their homes. And I'm here today to talk to you about 5G technology.
Oh
now, this
my
is
goodness, hang on now. Here, why don't I direct you like to me, right to you that camera, see, and look right into the camera like you're looking at me and tell your story. But I just wanted to confirm the fact that I met Paolo Tomasini and did a What's Ailing Healing America show back in the 90s when the cell phones were like walkie-talkies. He invented text messaging, and he said, oh, it beams off the satellite, and it's about 2 meters in circumference, and they will have warning labels in the future, and if you keep them on your shoulder holster, perhaps your liver will be damaged. And I'm saying, oh, wow, that's scary news. He says, oh, well, now you're bringing this home to reality. Almost 20 years later, we're looking at what we got with our little cell phones and flip phones, very normal stuff everyone takes for granted, but you do say that they are dangerous, so we need to have earphones, right?
absolutely.
Instead of keep the phone to our head.
And they never got those warning labels, and actually Berkeley passed the Berkeley Ordinance, and it just got upheld this year, which was just warning people to keep the phone at least an inch away from your head when you're using it, an inch away from your body when you're carrying it, because that's what it says inside of the cell phone itself. They were just letting the public know what the cell companies put in their products, but bury it deep so it's hard to find it. But what I came to talk to you about today is 5G technology. Now 5G is a real departure from earlier wireless technology. We're at a 1 to 3 gigahertz. This is an increase up to 24 to 90 gigahertz. To put this into perspective, 90 gigahertz is 90 billion electromagnetic waves per second hitting your body. And unfortunately, this technology, the waves are millimeter waves, so tiny that they don't travel very well, and therefore you need a cell transmitter, a little cell tower, about every 2 to 10 homes. And that's the plan, to put a little cell tower in front of your home. This is a problem because we already know with current cell phone towers, the cancer rates are 3 or 4 times what they normally should be, and neurological problems get more severe as you get closer to these transmitters.
Oh my God, that's horrible. Now, those are facts that you actually can refer to?
Absolutely.
What about, does that aligned with the bee colony collapse problem too? Our Mother Nature biodiversity dying from the cell tower energy too? If we don't have bees, we don't pollinate our crops.
Absolutely. There's an environmental effect too, and that's a great point, Frank. If people look up Bees, Birds, and Mankind, it's a document written by 7 leading scientists from Germany that not only theorize that wireless radiation is affecting nature and the environment, but they actually talk about mechanisms and quote several hundred studies. So unfortunately, in this country, we're ignoring the science, we're ignoring the effects on human beings and on nature, and we're just pushing ahead. The big problem is the FCC, who regulates this, is actually the wireless industry themselves, and the former chairman, who just resigned because they change with every administration, was the former main lobbyist for the wireless industry and the former CEO of the Wireless Trade Organization.
So he has vested interest, money. This is what rules. And unfortunately, more double digits in your portfolio, Mr. Trump, doesn't make us safe. That's why he's created saboteurs that are supposed to head up the department that are actually sabotaging medication, education, the National Endowment of the Arts, and everything, Environmental Protection Agency. I mean, this is ridiculous. It's inhumane and completely absurd. Why should a multimillionaire or a billionaire or multi-billionaire, Jabba the Hutt, the Blob, have more digits in his portfolio? I mean, this man is sick. Well, he's not a legitimate leader. He's just a moneymaker, and he's not that good a businessman, Mr. Trump Card 45, because he's given a carte blanche to the military that notoriously overbills the Pentagon and creates fraud. Now, you want to give money where money's due, and a good business manager, okay, he's running a good ship. But not something that's always stealing from you and gouging and just, creating property damage and terrorism worldwide. It's ridiculous. We're in an insane, very painful part of human history and worldwide climate change and international crisis. So we have eco-friendly energy solutions to fossil fuel industry pollutions, and this nonsense of Mr. Rex Tillerson, who's not a diplomat, doesn't speak languages, just run his pipeline to China, then to Russia, and give Bayakos oil cartel bullshit speeches. Sorry. Anyway, getting back to you, we're looking at here with the Wi-Fi problem and the cancer and all the diseases should be on the demise, but they're on the rise. And it has to do with GMOs, spoiled soils, no minerals, depletion, and of course this problem that you're addressing with the Wi-Fi.
And this didn't start with Trump. Actually, President Obama, the big funders of the Democratic Party are the wireless industry, and they've rode them into office. And they've turned their head and denied and hidden health effects, and it's really sad for America. 5G represents the epitomization of the problem. You're talking about high-density, high-intensity wireless, close to people's home with continuous exposure, all exempt from any health, environmental, or safety review. Why would you have to exempt these if there wasn't a problem? We want people to contact us at weanow7@gmail.com. weanow7@gmail.com. If you're already getting sick from wireless radiation, we want you to contact us because we need your testimonials to show public officials that we have an epidemic of illness from wireless radiation already, and that 5G will just make things much, much worse. Also, if you're willing to reach out to your public officials in the state level, the federal level, we need your help in speaking eye to eye, foot to foot, and letting these people know that what they're doing, the way they're making us sick, and the way they're compromising our health in the name of profit instead and representing the corporate interest rather than the public interest is absolutely wrong. weanow7@gmail.com. We need you to participate. We need your help in showing what the problem is existing, and that people are getting very sick from this wireless radiation, which is microwave radiation. And you can look it up under microwave sickness or microwave syndrome. They now call it electrosensitivity or electrohypersensitivity, but that was named by the industry. The reality is this sickness has been around for years, as long as there's been microwaves.
What are some of the symptoms of the sickness? So you find you're getting this malaise, what would you say indicates?
Okay, so if people are getting tingling in their hands, carrying their cell phone, that's a biological effect that the industry says doesn't exist. If you're getting a headache after using your phone, if you're getting tumors in the head, neck, or face, like LeBron James had a tumor taken out of his salivary gland nerve, which is in front of his ear, like Vice President Biden, who had developed a brain tumor behind his ear, but Vice President Biden's son, Beau Biden, he was only 46 when he died. He had the tumor in the most common place to get one from your cell phone. But people need to understand, they're taking away our rights. They're violating our rights to protect our home, our families, and our health. And in New York, there's a measure, Senate Measure 2042, introduced by Grifo and Little. It's called the Wireless Broadband Eligible Facilities Permit Act, that basically makes it easy for them to put these transmitters up without any kind of review on any kind of fixture that's already there. This is absolutely wrong. We are literally microwave radiating our population, and we're wondering why there's so much cancer. This is absurd, but really it's only absurd because they're getting away with it, and we need to stop that. Also in New York, people need to understand that through the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, how about that, they're pushing rulemaking. It's called 6NYCRR Part 617. This rulemaking exempts anything that emits wireless radiation from environmental review. This is supposed to be our environmental conservation department, and they're passing something that is saying that it's going to be exempt. Why do you need to exempt it if there's no health effects? Why would you need to exempt it from review? The reality is there are thousands of studies, and people can look at saferemr.com and bioinitiative.org for thousands of studies looking at how this wireless radiation affects all systems of the body. So you need to educate yourself, you need to wake up, you need to participate. If you're getting sick right now, please contact us. We need your participation.
Again, your website is, or email?
Yeah, my email is weanow7@gmail.com, weanow7@gmail.com. We need you to participate. You are not alone. Many people are getting sick from this. And the more I do this, the more I run into sad stories about this. Also, you can look at emfscientist.org. That's our 220 scientists from 39 countries that have made a formal appeal to the United Nations saying, we know this technology is not safe. We know our standards that only protect against burning are inadequate to protect health, and they're being maintained by the FCC, which is all wireless industry insiders. We have an absurd conflict of interest that is allowing this to continue. This has been a problem that's been going on for years. It's time to say no. It's time to take a stand. It's time to stop this, because 5G technology, which is bringing a small cell tower near your home, is the epitomization, is a worst case scenario, and we need to stand up and say no and take back our rights to protect our homes and our families.
Right on, man. And you brought some literature. I want to look at some of the stuff here, like Captured. What is this about? Captured?
So this is a report by Harvard University called Captured Agency. It talks about done by the Harvard Ethics Department. It talks about how the FCC is a captured agency and represents corporate interests, not the public interest, and is unwilling to look at health effects.
As are most of the government agencies, they're sellouts to the corporate whore versus really looking at environmental and human protection.
Yeah, I mean, really, there should be, you're talking about fancy campaign finance reform. What I'd like to see is that congressional committees that regulate a industry cannot take money from that industry. I would like to see that in federal agencies that the industry that they're regulating cannot be represented in the agency that's represented. This would be some simple conflict of interest rules that would make a huge difference. Because right now, as you said,
that's what the government's supposed to do, checks and balances. Now we have the wolves guarding the henhouse, but in reality, the SEC, is supposed to fine Goldman Sachs or Lehman Brothers for malfeasance or fraud. No, they just make off. I mean, people should go to jail. Iceland put the bankers in jail for fraudulent billing and doing stuff. And what we do in this country is, we fine them, and they both make off like bandits. Yeah. And so they carry on, and that's unfortunately ridiculous. It's in your face fraud.
This is absolutely fraud. This is the biggest lie that's ever been told to America, and they are microwave poisoning you and your family. And you need to wake up. No, it's not the
biggest lie. The biggest lie is the 9/11 truth thing that we know. Obviously, steel and concrete don't burn, much less turn to dust in 10 seconds. So Sarah Silverstein cashed out $7 billion, and just a little complex suddenly disappeared. Oh, come on, man. And how could the Pentagon be attacked? Hello?
Okay, I spoke wrong. Not the biggest lie, but the most continuous lie. Because this has been 20 years they've been lying to people successfully.
Well, also
even while they're dropping dead.
The whole war on terrorism is a lie, because you don't stamp a fire with gasoline and more logs and more missiles and bombs. You put it out with water.
Absolutely.
If we go there with this missile costs $100,000. Oh, let's take a tenth of that, 10,000, or even a 10, and then we buy soccer balls, chickens, and whatnot. And we go to where they're burning our flag and say, here, oh, America, we love you, instead of we hate you. Property damage, drones, bombs. Obviously, they love a war since communism failed in 1989. Gorbachev was clamoring for glasnost, freedom. The Soviet Union was collapsing, and Reagan and Bush said, no, Star Wars. Oh, New World Order, we're the empire, we're the superpower. Well, look what it's got us. It's ridiculous. You know, we're going to fall by our own weight trying to maintain bases all over the world and control. What the hell we need to control? Respect. We're all connected. And America especially is the land of immigrants and humanity coming together in a political experiment for freedom and justice for all. And so we believe in law and what's right versus wrong. So pollution's wrong, war's wrong, torture's wrong. I mean, and this whole fascist agenda, this hate-mongering by Trumpeteers and Trump is a nasty ongoing malevolence that needs to be reined in and brought to terms of truth.
And right now what we have is a corporatocracy, that the corporation's interests are being represented and the public's not. But the public needs to get involved. They can't give up. You know, someone out in the hall said to me, you know, how can you stand up against this? The odds are too great against you.
No, they're not. Come on, it's obvious. What's wrong is wrong, what's right is right.
Absolutely.
We're Americans, we're intelligent, we fix things. We don't want to have to, you know, a guy's punching you in the face, stop the fight. No more war, por favor. Calm down.
This is corporate bureaucracy. This is corporate bullying. This is corporate murder on a systematic level.
Yeah.
And people need to stand up because people are going to pay the ultimate price for being compliant with this one.
But what about the kids and everybody with their new apps and all the YouTube and the Facebooking and all the new information and the flow and the telephone, the little computers? People like to have all this different information, data flowing, so they want to upgrade.
But listen, we're not against technology, but technology can be delivered through a wired means rather than a wireless means, eliminating the wireless microwaves, eliminating the health problems. This is what we're proposing.
So
and
you're saying
understand
we go
this.
back to fiber optics or the telephone wire?
All this could be done by fiber optics, and you could wire into your homes and connect all these transmitters through wired connections. That's the solution. The other solution is to test the frequencies. Test the frequencies and modulations and see if they're bioactive. We can find frequencies that are not bioactive, that don't make cells sick, that can still carry data. I absolutely believe this, but we need to start looking. We need to start testing. It needs to be one of the factors, not just how powerful is it, how well can it penetrate, how far can it carry data, but also how does it affect human beings? That's not being considered right now. And the EPA that used to look at this and was proposing a thermal and non-thermal standard, not just a thermal standard like we have now, was proposing this. They were taken out of the mix by Congress. This was absolutely wrong. They need to be brought back in. The EPA needs to be brought back in. The NIH needs to be brought back in. The FCC that regulates and maintains the safety standards for humans with wireless radiation has no one with a biological or medical background, yet they are telling you it's safe, and they're saying it's safe for your family, and they absolutely have no basis for saying that.
Yeah, well, they have their money portfolio, double-digit, multi-millionaire, no multi-billionaire. The out-of-control greed has dominated America from the get-go. Money is important, but there is limits to maturity and morality that have to be respected.
Absolutely.
For humanity and our species to continue. Yeah. This is the Noble Red Road, where the native people have decided, the clan mothers, when the chief is respected, not by force, but by respect. He makes sure that the whole tribe is fed, and they respect the buffalo that they hunt, and give and use every part of it and give thanks. And this inherent nobility is a worldwide consensus of morality of what's right versus what's wrong. And America has to step up to this very clear thing. And so we make movies about Bernie Madoff and this or that and poke fun and put Martha Stewart in jail. But meanwhile, Dick Cheney's jerking us around and all these other people are jerking us. Hey, look at that. Like a smoke and mirrors bamboozle that the government is now allowing itself to play games, thanks to the Pentagon, unfortunately.
Listen, this is corporate mass murder happening right under our noses, literally, because people are getting tumors right under their noses and their face, and it needs to be stopped.
But the pharmafia lobby profits off of it. It's a for-profit industry, and they have chronic pills, and you get involved in my little protocols. It fixes that, but now there's side effects here. Now you have to take a pill for that. And it's like, excuse me, no, we got to get back to nature and be at peace and work with healing. Because you notice in herbology, and I don't know if you know about that, but wild weed walkers and foragers will share with you the fact that, and the weeds grow up around the house as an answer that the owner of the house has rheumatoid arthritis or this or that or the other cancer.
Hey, Frank, but before our time runs out, I want to mention one more thing.
The plants will respond and grow, and then they're edible.
Absolutely. It's ecosystem, balanced ecosystem.
God is in nature and loves us and wants us to work together, and there's a natural way to work with nature, and there's an antithetical way, which is unfortunately the fossil fuel industry, which is going against the current of nature.
But this is billions of waves per second. It's absolutely not natural. People need to understand there's a bill going through the Senate right now, waiting to be voted on, called the Mobile Now Act, that will force these transmitters in front of people's homes with no environmental review. S19, you need to contact your senator and other senators and demand they put a hold on S19, and Digit Act S88, the Digit Act S88, which is going to eliminate any kind of barriers to putting these transmitters in. You need to contact your senator. One senator can put these bills on hold. You put them on hold, they cannot be heard by the Senate, and therefore they can't be passed. Contact your senator. You can make a difference. Contact us with your testimonials, weanow7@gmail.com. Contact us if you're willing to go face-to-face with your public representatives and tell them you demand they not put these transmitters in front of your home and compromise the health and well-being of your family. The S19, the Mobile Now Act, S88, the Digit Act. Ask your senator to do as he said, to do the right thing, to respect our environment, to respect the health and well-being of our communities, to live one and live together and not violate every rule in nature and really infirm ourselves with all these unnatural microwaves in our environment. They know there's a problem. All these companies are being sued. They're paying off and settling the suits. None of these companies have insurance for wireless health effects because there's simply too much science showing health effects.
So you're saying 5G is definitely off the books. We shouldn't go forward with this.
Absolutely, and there's right now we have plenty of wireless transmitters to drive the wireless technology we have. We should be focused on making that safer, finding frequencies that make that technology work better, and be using wired connections in combination with wireless to minimize our exposure while maximizing the benefits. Right now we are maximizing exposure and really disregarding the health and safety of our people, and the FCC that's pushing this and is all wireless industry has actually said you can now allow companies to pull up landlines, forcing people over to wireless technology. If there's wireless available, they're allowed to pull up the landlines and move people over to wireless systems, forcing people to maximize exposure.
What about the old telephone lines that usually run along the roads and stuff?
Yeah, well, they're allowing them to decommission those lines as long as there's wireless technology to take its place. But the problem is that forces people to be exposed longer to a greater extent, forcing them to closer and closer disease.
And you have a report here about the birds and bees being compromised by this situation too. Scientific evidence and facts that the bee colony collapse syndrome, which compromises and ruins our whole health and food and pollination of all our crops, we're talking apples, pears, and everything else, depends upon the bee population, and they're suffering because of this.
Yeah, it's birds, bees, and mankind. Look it up on the internet. You can definitely find it. And this is another one, oxidative mechanisms of biological activity of low-intensity radio frequency radiation. This talks about the mechanisms. We have 100 studies reviewed, 93 of them in agreement and consensus that wireless radiation can damage DNA, leading to cancer and other serious pathologies below thermal, and that's below our safety standards. So we now have the mechanism of how wireless radiation causes damage to our cells, and yet the industry, basically the FCC, is ignoring this mechanism, the other mechanisms that are found, and the thousands of studies showing health effects, and continue to push wireless onto your families, onto your children, and near your homes. 5G is a big mistake. They know it's a big mistake. They're doing it anyway. You need to stop them. It's time to wake up, stand up, take action, and hold your public officials responsible for keeping you safe.
So we go to the Congress, the Senate, whoever, our mayor, our town council, assembly, and say, hey, this is dangerous. And again, the website to refer to links and information to back up our claim that this is dangerous is what?
Bioinitiative.org and saferemr.com.
Bioinitiative.org or?
Saferemr.com.
Saferemr.com.
Out of UC Berkeley School of Public Health. To contact me and to get involved and show support, WEANow7, the number 7 at gmail.com. WEANow, the number 7 at gmail.com.
All right, did you write it out here? I'm sorry, the graphic's not up. We have a problem in our studio today with our new public access CEO. the people, again, that make money and they don't want to go tapeless and they don't want to help us out. They're trying to sabotage public access TV, unfortunately, because we put out real information. And these people that are just making money are afraid of the truth, but if I say, hey, pray for Iraq or 9/11 truth, or as this fine gentleman's talking about, suddenly it's like, money is like the master, and it's sort of like devil. It's good to have money, but not to the point of exhaustion. A sponge only works so much. Money is a commodity meant to circulate. It's like share it, and then everyone's a happy society. I think anyone who's a billionaire is a criminal or a moral criminal. They just don't have any sense that maybe they're running a big organization, they inherited fine. But you know what? We need to recognize what works, and what works, and what doesn't.
Whether they're poor or rich, people need to do what's right. They need to take care of others as if it was themselves, and we need to act like a community. And that's simply not happening. And the wireless community and the wireless industry is a great example of that, and it's sad. Very sad.
Yeah. Well, man, again, what's your name?
Kevin Mottus, California Brain Tumor Association, WEA7@gmail.com.
Oh, that's beautiful, man. And you are seriously on this campaign to try to get the word out and
Absolutely.
let people know, just pulling together science fiction into fact. We're dealing with reality.
Absolute fact, and the fiction is that there's no problem.
Right. So, maybe we can talk to T-Mobile and AT&T and Sprint about that and say hello.
Absolutely. They could definitely solve the problem rather than make it worse, but they're not.
Well, maybe they can and should. And,
They absolutely
like
should.
Tesla Motor Cars is just give sharing its technology.
Yeah.
All the Ford and Chrysler, Toyota, they used to keep it all secret. And Tesla says, it's all right, there's free energy available. And here it is. And they're booming, like with Germany. Because of Fukushima, they shut down the nuclear power plants and they put solar panels. They have a slush fund. They're happy. They're sending money. They got tons of money, and they're putting people to work. And the beauty is we could have a win-win situation on our hands because that's how God wants it, and nature provides when we work with nature instead of against nature.
Yeah, a win-win is what we really need, and wireless technology can be made safe with safe frequencies. We can use wired around, especially around kids. We use wired corded Ethernet along with wireless. It's absolutely possible. This is the most flexible technology in the world, but we simply don't have the will. We think it's easier just to take the shortcut, use what we have now, and who cares who gets hurt. And the corporations need to be held responsible for the really reckless behavior and harmful behavior that they've been pursuing.
Yeah, well, we certainly agree about that. And good old Ralph Nader and other people who have been a public advocate on the scene trying to bring sensitivity and awareness. Unfortunately, we're on public access TV, and we're the people that are non-commercial and say, hey, what's going on, And we're not afraid to speak up, and we shouldn't be, because this is what makes America great. A country, an intelligent group of people believing in freedom and justice for all, and believing in the ability to live in amongst Asians, Africans, Latin Americans, and all kinds of people and culture and languages and beliefs and religions without fear or prejudice, and recognizing that what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong.
And this is really the American way. We've gotten away from the American way. We've gotten away from democracy, and this corporatocracy, just for a few corporations dominating the others, simply isn't right. And it's time to take back our government. It's time to take back our neighborhoods and our health. And, it's time. They've pushed us far enough. This is an egregious injustice. This is an egregious violation of our rights to protect our home, to protect our family and our health. And people need to stand up. Just because you can't see or feel or hear it, like any other type of radiation, it still can hurt you. And wireless radiation is hurting people. We run into people all the time. Just out in the hall, talked to a woman who lost her friend due to a brain tumor. He always held the phone to his head. He always made a lot of appointments. He used it for many years. This is wrong. He's shortened his life.
I'm sure you call the hospitals in town, and there's a spike in this disease and malady and cause of death.
Yeah, and absolutely. The wireless industry will say there's no increase in brain cancer. For the overall head, it is pretty flat, but for the areas that get the most radiation from cell phones, it's up from 30% to 400%. And for children 15 to 19, it's the #1 disease.
So what do we need to put on earphones?
Use wired connections to your cell phone. Use wired keyboards and mouses. Use wired connections to the wall in Ethernet. It's simple. $50 in half an hour can connect you and lower your exposure millions of times. Portable phones at home, the base station transmits all the time. And so just use a corded phone. It costs $10 off the internet. Those base stations transmit all the time, and they transmit with a frequency that's very disturbing to the body. Instead of sleeping next to the bed with your cell phone, put it on airplane mode. The alarm clock still works. People don't realize that's a problem.
Yeah, or just put the phone in the living room. You're going for a good night's rest, sleep, we need 8 hours of sleep and the darkness. Don't leave the TV on or have a light on, because your pineal gland needs to be activated, and all your bones and musculature must rest. And when you rest, you are in the sleep mode, and it's very healing. And that's what most hospitals and people and Mother Nature knows. Any animal that's sick, it just curls up, and it fasts, it goes to sleep, and then it reconstitutes itself.
Absolutely.
And so when we go to sleep at night, we don't need to have that cell phone. Even if we're a doctor or an actor on call, okay, big deal. We'll hear the phone. We can get up and go to the bathroom or grab the phone. But let it be plugged in and charged in your bathroom, and you go in your bedroom without TV or lights on, because believe me, you're going to be stronger, healthier, and find yourself reconstituted more naturally as nature and God provided for us.
We know that wireless radiation has been associated with decreases in melatonin and poor sleep for decades. It's very easy to test, and it's very easy to show. So yeah, forward your calls from your cell phone to your landline in case you get an emergency call. You can pick up your landline phone. That's an easy solution. But Wi-Fi, simple Wi-Fi is 2.4 gigahertz. That's 2 billion waves per second hitting your body while you're trying to sleep. It's not natural. Your heart has a circuitry and your head has a circuitry about 8 to 10 hertz. This is billions of times more than what's natural. So of course it affects our cells. Our cells are electromagnetic. These are electromagnetic waves. We are playing with the basic building blocks and the basic function and communication of our cells. And the industry denying it is just denying it. And common sense should take over to say, this can be this hurting us.
Mutant Ninja Turtles that are adapting and modulating our frequency in this new technology, and the kids and everybody, it grows and adapts. A kid on the desert versus an Eskimo, they're young kids, but they're going to adapt to their environment. We have this marvelous capability of doing that.
So you're saying we're like mutant Ninja Turtles? I don't think we can adapt.
I don't know.
I don't think we can adapt as fast as we're increasing the amount of frequencies and the amount of waves in our environment. And remember, the studies that are showing increases in cancer are from one source of wireless radiation. No one's exposed to one source anymore. Everyone's exposed to multiple sources.
Yeah.
And also,
besides the harmful products in your home, from all the chemicals they put in, cleaning agents or this, that, or the other, and also your food, when you buy a tomato sauce, and if it's this thick with all these preservatives and colors, better not even eat it. Get some tomatoes, mash them up, and make a tomato sauce.
And what's interesting about the studies is they show not only does it cause illness itself, but it also makes other carcinogens worse, because it ties up your cells trying to defend against all these waves, and when it does it, it makes other carcinogens more potent. So it has the kind of a collaborative effect. So people need to keep this in mind, and so reducing your wireless radiation exposure will make you healthy overall and will make you more resistant to all diseases. So it's definitely something for people to pay attention to, and certainly to hold the government responsible for not exposing us more greatly against our will, without our consent, and exempt from looking at health effects, which is completely absurd, but that's the law. According to the 1996 Telecommunications Act, Section 704, it is illegal for local governments to look at health and safety when placing a cell tower.
What, are you kidding? Well, that's it. Clinton, man, that whole Black Lives Matter, they're prejudiced in Arkansas. There are a lot of blacks, and he privatized the jails. And now we have more malevolence and stupidity in our hands than we ever thought possible. Now, all this legislation that supposedly illegal is supposed to protect us, when in fact all it does is give carte blanche to the corporations and the corporate greed. So multimillionaires become billionaires, and then they become multi-billionaires. I mean, where is our moral
compass?
Reality of checks and balances within government or our own? The jihad, the holy jihad in Muslim religion, is control of your morality, of your appetites, of your mind, of your mouth. And that's the holy war, to be able to control. Because, and like in yoga or any spiritual discipline, you control your own being, and then you emanate around you a sense of balance and well-being. But it's up to every individual to sort of rein in their energy and their thoughts, otherwise they go crazy. And the idea of this luxury class, multimillionaire politicians that believe that they have a right, they're surrounded in pseudo-security and yes men, and then they get the money, and so they just keep the ball rolling in their direction, which is unfortunate. What we have with, like, Pray for Iraq, is a painting I made that obviously is an awful thing. You think you're doing good, but you're doing wrong. You're stealing people's oil, you're running your program, and it's not right. America is a good, wonderful country when we listen to each other and share our resources, and instead of just gobble up and say, "This is for me," It's unfortunate but I think we're evolving, we're growing.
And I think, Frank, you make a good point. The 1996 Telecom Act, got rid of a check and balance, right? That local and state governments are supposed to be able to look at health and safety when they're placing these cell towers, especially near schools and churches and people's homes. And they were taking away that right. They were taking away that. So the corporations, they were protected, and what they're doing has been protected, but the people aren't being protected. They lost all their rights, not to protest against these type of cell towers, and also sue when they get harmed by these cell towers. They took away all our rights. So the corporations have no incentive now to make this technology safer, which it could be safer, and to keep this technology at safe distance from people. And now with 5G, putting it close to your home, in front of your home, right in the public right-of-way, where you have no need for notification, no possibility for pushing back and looking at health and safety. This is just an egregious affront. This is just an abuse of power.
And kids today all are on computers from the get-go. So they're young age. They should be learning multiple languages, like in Sweden or Spain. In first, second, third grade, you're taught Spanish, French, English. Now, another thing, I was talking to some cell phone tower installers about how do we protect ourselves. How do you protect? And they talked to me about a Faraday mesh. Have you heard about that? The Faraday mesh is, you take copper, like the Brillo pads, and you put them on a board around like your windows or something, and that will break make a barrier to the cell phone, so it doesn't invade and bombard your psyche and biochemistry.
Well, a couple things. Faraday cages shielding is a double-edged sword, because while it shields, and that's kind of a misnomer, it bounces off some of the waves. It also absorbs some of the waves, so it's also more of an attractor of waves. So, and for people who are electrosensitive and become sick from wireless radiation, when they put this on their windows, they get a lot of reflection inside. So if there's any kind of fields inside. So most people who are electrosensitive don't like using shielding, because while it shields from certain types of fields, it increases other types of fields. So it's really tricky. What you want to do is prevent and minimize the exposure from the beginning. And remember, these waves are designed to pass through your walls. That's not going to help you. And that's why they're used, because they can pass through your walls and get to the other side. People need to wonder, when they're in their elevator and their cell phone goes off, how did that wave get there? And what happens when those waves pass through me?
Well, man, well, God bless you. Good talking with you. And again, your website and the contact is what?
Yeah, my contact's WEANow7, the number 7, @gmail.com. We need your testimonials if you're already sick. We need you to be involved. If you don't want to personally get involved, fundraising is always something we could use help with. Organizations, we could use help with organization. Computer assistance, anything you can do, we need your help. We're up against the number one most powerful industry in the country. We're dealing with a technology you can't see, feel, or hear, so a lot has to be put into science to prove the health effects. And they are ramrodding this technology down our throat, and we need the lawyers who made this all happen to stop it from continuing.
Right on. Well, good luck and God bless you in campaign, and I'm glad I was able to help out, and we'll be looking at this show and probably rebroadcasting it, because this is an ongoing issue that's just going from bad to worse, unfortunately.
Absolutely. And the two bills in New York that we were talking about, Senate 2042, introduced by Little and Grifo. Please contact them about this bill and your representatives on the state level. And for the New York State Department of Environment Conservation, 6 NYCRR Part 617 rulemaking that exempts any wireless emitting device from having to have any kind of environmental review if the structure is already pre-existing should absolutely be reversed. And the fact that it's being passed by the Environmental Conservation Department makes me sick, because this is the greatest environmental and health threat of our time. Hardly anyone is talking about it. We're not funding it, to looking at it to the degree we should, although we have enough evidence of harm already, and we have people getting sick already, and we're certainly not doing anything to protect people. People who are electrosensitive, normal people who are developing cancer, and we are acting and spending millions and billions of dollars, public dollars, to make the problem exponentially billions of times worse, and 5G is a great representation of that.
Well, thank you for sharing that, and I'm sure we're going to come around to understanding the reality, because the truth will prevail, the lies will fail. They can't keep, as what was it, Abraham Lincoln that said, you can fool some of the public all the time, you can fool all of the public some of the time, but you can't fool all the public all the time.
And shows like yours can get the word out, and be like community, like you say. Share this with other shows. Share this show with other shows. Share this information with other shows. Let's get the word out. Let's make this a public movement, because it's the public who's going to be impacted. They should care. They need to care. The alternative is a very bad, very sad one, and we already see it, and we just don't want more sickness and death in our communities.
No, of course not. And drinking water is good to stay hydrated. Oftentimes people aren't so sick, they're just dehydrated, and we need to do more breathing and exercise, align our backbone, and maybe alternate breathing, and stretching and flexing, and taking a good brisk walk. And as I say, sleep with the phone in the bedroom or in the bathroom charging up, and give yourself a break from it. Oftentimes I'll just go, and my girlfriend or other friends are saying, "Frank, where were you?" And I say, "Well, I just went out of the house without the phone." And they say, "Wow, man, you can't do that." And I say, "Yes, I can. And I'm just as healthy and happy to do it, It's like there's a time to connect and disconnect, and it's okay to go to the mountains or to the desert or the seashore and just leave your phone in your car. Don't worry about it. You don't have to sleep with it and hold on to it and be addicted to it. It becomes an addiction, and it's almost sickness.
Absolutely.
That we need to, it's a tool, and let's use it, but let's not be addicted to it, and we don't need it, because it's suddenly you feel you're jonesing. It's like anything. Your system gets used to it. And we have to really get more sensitive to our psychokinetic electromagnetic fields, and also, as I say, stretch and flex and take a different diet, take a different break, and break up your patterning, because otherwise you're going to go down the rabbit hole of your own little silliness that will wind up, totally addicted to something.
And if you believe in harmony and you believe in living in the proper frequency, think about it. These are man-made, unnatural frequencies that are raising and changing your frequency in your body without your choice, without your consent. And they are billions of times more than what's natural. Think about that. Let's get back to what's natural, what's normal, and that's only about 10 hertz versus 10 billion hertz. So,
will we be able to download lots of data and different apps with 10 hertz?
This new 5G technology, the idea is to put transmitters in all things in your house, and that they're all going to be communicating with each other, and you need your own personal cell tower to have those transmitters
Doesn't
communicate.
that give us free internet and more accessibility?
That free internet, most systems, they give you a free internet that's not very good, and they give you an internet you can pay for that's much, much better. So that free internet is usually just talk. And these devices, the vision of 5G is that everything in your home will have a transmitter in it, and these transmitters will all communicate with each other. But that vision is flawed, because that means you're going to be living inside of a soup of wireless radiation transmissions. And why does your stove need to contact your refrigerator? And why do you need to be able to see in your refrigerator? The reality is this is a huge violation of privacy also. They want to know what you're doing in your homes. And with these transmitters, they will know what you're doing. And they want to know what's in your refrigerator because they want to know what you're shopping for. They want to mine that data. Okay, so this is a massive violation of privacy as well.
Let me share with you a story. About 2 or 3 in the morning, a couple of years ago, a guy selling Christmas trees I was on 2nd Avenue, and we were talking. He was from Canada, and I gave him this Australian fellow, and wonderful, and lovely chap. And he was with Top Secret Service. And I said, oh, yeah. And now he's running a hedge fund. So he wasn't doing military intelligence with Australia and the defense mechanism. He got a cushy job. He came to New York City. He was new to the city. And he's running a hedge fund. So he got like billions of dollars, or whatever, hundreds of millions of portfolio he's running. He got a nice little apartment. So I'm a New Yorker, and I was traumatized. I lost someone on 9/11, and I'm always, I was there that day, I almost died, and I'm like saying, so we get to talk about 9/11 too. And he starts getting very nervous. He said, hush, hush, and I said, well, what's the matter? I thought you're no longer with Secret Service or surveillance clearance and all that. I said, yeah, but I'm responsible for a hedge fund and a lot of money, and it's like, okay, so what? What's the matter? And then he pulls out a cell phone, and he sort of looks at me like, wink, wink. These are, like remote observation things. And even though it's clicked off and he's off duty and it's 2 in the morning, no. Since he was in secret government and surveillance, and if they want, they can tune in. And our cell phones are actually, surveillance monitors that are like microphones and monitor us if they want. Now, of course, we're all upset about John Snowden and Julian Assange. We're not. I think he's cool. But I laugh because they talk about, total information aware. John Poindexter said that back in the 80s with a little pipe and testifying to Congress. He was indicted 5 times with Abscan, and he said, Pentagon, we have the total information awareness. Every keystroke on our keyboard, every cell phone, every phone call, or foreign or domestic, is monitored with these big computers, and they have little trip computers when they talk about marijuana, cocaine, or murder, or terrorism, it's just that suddenly, and then they have ways of double-checking the hundreds of millions of phone calls or emails that go out there every day. But the government, the Pentagon, with a carte blanche budget, already has got this total information awareness thing, so secrecy's off. There's no reason to be worried about it, and if you're ashamed or you're afraid or you want to be secret, maybe they'll cut you some slack, they don't care, they're not have to bust everybody. But and in reality, I'm just saying that what I'm saying is 2 things. First of all, this guy out of the blue, I also heard it from other sources that these cell phones could be remote microphones and observation tools for the CIA or the secret government, and also there's just a lot more going on than meets the eye.
Well, what I can tell you is a previous director of the CIA said, I'm worried about being spied on by my thermostat, these wireless smart meter thermostats that can be activated to work 2 ways. They're 2-way transmitters. So, this is something to think about. If you care about your privacy, you shouldn't want these transmitters in your home either. If it's not for health concerns, then for privacy concerns. But either way, this is a bad idea.
Saying privacy's over. The Economist magazine had it years ago. Privacy's dead. We don't. There's really. The government, if they want, they know everything. They just. It's the age of computers. It's like in your face. Google used to be abracadabra, the magic word. Now it's Google. You can find out just about whatever you want nowadays.
Yeah.
So what? In a given moment, we have nothing to hide, and that's where we're going to have safety and freedom in this country through transparency. Because, okay, all right, in the old days, up until Reaganomics, the more money you made, the more you were taxed. And that's what made America great. And, you worked hard, you made more money, but you were more taxed, but you can make more money. And nowadays, they subsidize the corporations. They play games and tricks so that the super rich get super rich and the rest of us are in perpetual debt, slavery. And that's another problem that has to be addressed. But as you say, getting back to your theme of the Wi-Fi being a direct threat, and especially the modern 5G Wi-Fi going forward is seriously compromising our children's health and our own adult health. And as we can see, disease on the rise instead of demise. And in a progressed, healthy world, and America is supposed to be an intelligent, progressive, intelligent country, why are we not having disease on the demise instead of the rise?
Yeah, and if people are getting sick and you go to your doctors or your friend go to the doctors and they can't figure out what's wrong, you should rule out wireless radiation health effects because it affects most systems of the body. And you can reduce your exposure and see if the symptoms go away. You know, it's sad that people are developing these symptoms. It takes them years to figure out it was just the wireless transmitters near them, and once they changed their environment, they got better. So especially for young people, especially in the case where the doctors cannot find anything wrong, you need to look to the environment and look and rule out wireless radiation health effects. It's sad, young people being disabled by sickness that they could easily prevent.
Well, most people are addicted to their phones. I get on the bus or subway nowadays, I'm amazed. Everyone just constantly go googly blah, 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 blah. You know, and it's like walking down the street. They can't seem to just enjoy saying hello or looking around. They always have their nose in their iPhone nowadays.
Yeah.
In between jobs or whatever they
Yeah, I mean,
do.
they
But even people in bars and restaurants, waiters, there'll be people sitting there in a social situation.
Yeah.
They're sitting there clicking away on their silly phone.
There's a tremendous impact socially. There's an addiction issue for sure. There's an issue with screen time. But for me, it's radiation health effects. You know, those things definitely need to be addressed.
For you and for everyone, my man. This is a serious, major affront of our nature. It's a brand new technology. As I said years ago, I interviewed Paolo Tomasini, who invented text messaging, and gave me this very same warning back then. And it seems obvious too. They're beamed off satellites. Hello, but it's a whole new thing going on now. Like in the turn of the century, they're smoking. Everyone loves smoking, and all the doctors recommend it in the playbills and the magazines. So now we have these warning things on our cigarettes. They're going to take us a century of evolution and demise before we get warning signals on our cell phones.
Yeah, we don't have a century. Problem is with cigarettes, it takes about 30 years for tumor growth. We're showing tumor growth in just 10 years with wireless technology. And we're talking about being exposed, to a maximum and being exposed very efficiently. So we don't have that time to figure this out. We already know there's a problem. We're already at the 10 to 15 year mark as a group. That's why you're finding people just dropping left and right from different types of cancers. When you look at where they're exposed, how much they're exposed to wireless radiation, and where the source and transmitter is, it explains a lot of disease, especially for these young people getting sick. Google LeBron James spring surgery, see about the tumor he had removed from his jaw. Ask Steve Jobs if wireless radiation is safe, Think about Beau Biden, this poor young guy left kids and left a family behind, devastated his family.
Yeah, you're supposed to die when you're 80 or 90 years old. Live a full life, man, or 60, 70. Well, actually, the Bible and Shakespeare said, 70 was supposedly the classic 70 years old, or the quotas say when you're 81, you're allowed to say it's a good day to die. Who knows? What's a measure of a good life? Every 20 years is a generation. So a lot of people do die young, but it's like a chess game. The longer you live, the more you're standing, the more your king is up, the better. Life's an adventure. It's always tough. It's always a struggle to brush your teeth and keep your shoes shine and eat the right foods and enjoy your life, because mentally, physically, and spiritually, it's all connected. So, and that's what I was talking about with Richard Burns earlier, about that. It wasn't just a physical healing, but it was a mental reprogramming of our depression, our sadness, and our anger and angst and guilt. And all those things got to be released, and know that we live in joy and love, and we can carry on, and we don't have to carry all the burden ourselves.
Amen.
So
we need to do this together. We need to protect one another. We need to think as a whole rather than individuals, and especially individual corporations. And, we need to hold corporations responsible for taking care and showing care and not exposing us to a very harmful agent, and doing everything they can to hide these health effects rather than protect us. It's absolutely wrong.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. And again, we go to our senator, our congressman, our assemblyman, whoever, the mayor, and say 5G. No, thank you. Come on, it's going too far. We don't want these little cell towers bombarding our frequency.
People need to show up, and they need to contact their state representatives and their federal representatives. The local government's hands are being tied by everyone because that's where people normally go. They can't do anything to help you. The state and the feds are passing bills that take the local government out of the mix, keep them from protecting you. You need to go to the state and federal level.
Huh. Well, thank you for sharing that, and God bless you, and I appreciate you getting the message out there.
Look at this guy, man. You're awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you. He stayed that whole time.
What?
He stayed that whole time. It was awesome.
Harvey stayed with you guys.
Oh, yeah? That was awesome, though. You wound it up.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you, Harvey. That's Man's in California to spread his message.